So if y'all don't know, okay, first of all, this is royalty right here. Let me set it up. This is literary royalty right here. This is author Blake Carrington. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. How you doing this evening?
Good. Welcome to Pop Your Shit.
Oh, that's what's up. I'm ready to pop it.
All right, all right. So I got a bunch of questions. Listen, I've been writing questions all weekend.
All
You
right.
ready?
But I
Hold
hope
on.
I got a bunch of answers.
I hope so. We gonna see. We gonna see what it do.
For sure.
2 seconds. 2 seconds. I have some additional questions, and they're not right here. But we're not gonna worry about that. Oh, I wonder what happened. Okay, we're not gonna worry about that. I still have a bunch of questions. So, sir, you've been out of the game for a good minute. Where you been, sir? Where you
I
been,
don't,
boy?
I'm not gonna say I've been out. I just been over here trying to make a little research and development. Just because things, as you probably know, if you follow the book industry, things change like every few years, right? So, especially as long as I've been in it going on now 30 years. And so, when it first started, predominantly all of the books that were sold by African American bookstores, right?
Mm-hmm.
85% of all black books back then, the early 90s, were sold at African American bookstores. We went from that to where we began to get into the mainstream outlets, especially urban books at that time. They wasn't being distributed into the Waldens, the Media Plays, the Books of Millions, the Barnes and Nobles. And even if we were, we didn't have our own section. We were just mixed in.
Right.
So we made that transition to being able to get those books into the mainstream stores. So then things kind of went from the African American bookstores to, again, being into the larger chains. People were looking for publishing deals. A lot of publishing companies started coming out looking for African American authors, especially the urban ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that point, we went to the larger box stores. Then eventually Amazon came. Then Amazon switched it. Everything went to ebooks.
Right.
And then as you look at what we're doing now, is that a lot of stuff is transitioning to audio. And not just the audio, but when I first, especially with the ebooks, which the thing used to be, hey, get on social media, get your social media following, promote your books. Well, now a lot of the outlets, especially Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok to some degree, but definitely on Amazon, now it's a pay to play type of platform. You got to run ads on Amazon now. Now it's not just organic searches and stuff. And so me understanding that these shifts happen and just trying to make sure that I stay in that loop to keep that longevity. Because you know how many authors started off with me and they just didn't make the transition from black bookstores to going into the mainstream and understanding the way that work and the book deals and everything. And then leaving from that and understanding something called ebooks. When ebooks first came, most of the, especially African American authors, they didn't want to have anything to do with ebooks because everyone was making their money with these paperbacks, especially trade paperback. And then we had like the Black Expos, we had the For Sisters Only, we had all these events where you could go and sell books, Essence Book Fair, all of those things. So, it just, a lot of the authors didn't transition to understanding the ebooks, especially when the ebooks first came out and they were 99 cents.
Right.
Most people were like, sell my book for 99 cents. How am I gonna make some money? And so, a lot, again, people not being able to get that change. And so that's what I think we're looking at now is we're going into a point dealing with AI, again, dealing with audio where, our industry is going to have a transition, and it's just making sure that we're at the forefront and understanding that so that we can make sure that we're here.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. So we're gonna jump right in on the industry. Let me tell you something. You got to have all three now. You need
you
audio.
do. You
I
do.
mean, all four. You need audio. You need an ebook.
Look,
You also need
paperback.
paperback,
Mhm.
and you have to have social media.
You
And
definitely.
you got to attend these events if you even want to, play the game the long way. I feel.
Right. You definitely do.
I feel.
You do. Because it's so much content.
Yes.
So you're vying so much for a person's attention because again, like you're talking about, they can be listening to a book, or they can just get on TikTok and just be entertained. So, like you said, you're vying for that person to make that investment into what you're doing, you know. And
Right.
so, like you said, yeah, you definitely have to stay active,
Right.
you know, and write good material.
Listen, because guess what? We know the difference. Let me tell you
Yeah.
something. Somebody wrote a book, and I'm gonna tell you this, and don't say me. I'm the one who read it. I didn't write it. I believe this author wrote it via AI, and I could tell the difference.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you know, I think a lot of people are going to try that shortcut. And the thing is, like you said, a lot of people are going to figure that out because you know that prompting is missing. Something has to be pushing a storyline. And so, even though it hasn't gotten to that point to where yet it's going to be able to give you something that's a fully developed story, so it can, I think it can enhance, like especially for I would say like a male author like myself. Sometime when we be struggling writing those female parts where we getting into the female mind, that can be a little difficult. So, you know, if you can use AI to help maybe assist with that, like I know for myself, I was, you know, maybe writing like a white district attorney, a prosecutor or something. What would
Mm-hmm.
they mind? Well, now having AI be able to put that verbiage together, that can enhance the story. But like you said, if you're just sitting down there talking about, hey, you
And you
know,
done
write
read
me
like
a
a
book.
whole book.
Right. Yeah. Nah. Good luck on that.
I mean, and then you still have to pick apart what AI has put to still make it be authentic to you. You
Right.
know, just to
Right.
make sure that it speaks to the story. Because sometimes they be going off the rails. I'm just saying, but it's a tool. It's a curse, and it's not. It's an advantage. It's, you know, I don't know.
Definitely.
I'm not an author. I like to write. I like to dabble, but I'm not an author, so I can't speak to it.
Well, we in
So
agreement on that.
no.
Mhm.
So what made you get into this literary space? What made you want to be an author?
Oh, I always love reading.
Hmm.
And, you know, my story is one that I know that I really just, it was laid out
Hmm.
because I got into books first by owning a African American bookstore. So I opened a bookstore October 26, 1995, in a mall here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the name of my bookstore was called Dynasty Books, right? Blake Carrington. I don't know if you remember the old Dynasty soap opera
Hmm.
and everything. So Blake Carrington was naturally, the store was named Dynasty. And so when we first started, we just specialized again in selling African American books. And at that time, we would have, you know, people like Elan Harris, you know, it was right down Atlanta, Ayanna Van Zant. These people were sending their books directly to us back then, you know, and that part got me into the bookstore side. And then from being into that and working with distributors, when authors sometime would call me and say, hey, do you have any other people who I could send books to? Store wise, if you ever go look back at the old Essence magazine, the book picks, you'll see I'm listed in there. I was the store
Hmm.
that chose the top 10 back then. And so I would give them these other places and outlets. And so person was like, you know, you should get into distribution because you know all of the authors. And then, of course, you know all of the stores. And so I started off doing a little distribution after that. People like Michael Bazin, he had just wrote How and Why Men Cheat.
Right.
There was people, Tawana Butler, Shaniska Jackson. I don't know if you remember these. These were like the beginning of African American books as far as that independent movement. Because
Right.
nobody was getting published back then. If you wasn't Terry McMillan, Toni Morrison, you know, Walter Moat, nobody had major book deals like that. And then so going from that point from doing the distribution, I started getting into the publishing of it. And so because I started getting connections to publishing houses, I started doing a little bit of agent work because I could call this person, put this together. And then from that, I just eventually started getting into publishing.
Hmm.
And I ended up selling my first company to Simon and Schuster. And so when they bought, I had a non-compete clause. So I couldn't publish books for 3 years. So that's what made me start getting into writing. And then I wrote my first book, which was called All or Nothing. Me and Shannon Holmes actually owned. He had wrote Be More Careful, Bad Girls, and me and him owned a publishing company together. And so he said, man, you should just write something. And that's how I got into writing. He helped me write my first book. And just been going ever since.
So you gave me a whole bunch. I got a whole bunch of questions just from that little tidbit. Okay. So first question first. My first question is, there was a big shift back in the 90s, 80s, 90s for African American traditionally published authors. Right. Then you started seeing authors slowly start becoming independent authors. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of hard to get traditionally published, whether they're trying to stifle your creativity, whether they're trying to box you into a specific genre. What's your thoughts on all of this? Why is it harder for us to keep our creativity and be traditionally published?
Because and I used to go through this when I was an agent, is that when you meet a writer, if you ask a writer, you say, well, what is this book like? Who would you compare yourself? Oh, it's not like nothing else. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like nothing else out there. Because that's what an author likes to hear. But from a publishing house, especially one that's not familiar with our subject matter, that lead editor most of the time don't know whether or not that book is really good or not, especially when Urban first got going. So they were like, well, we just want another book like this. At the time, this was, it started off with Omar Tyree's Fly Girl. Mm-hmm. They said, we just want another one of these. And so then it became Sister Soldiers, the coldest one ever. Correct. We just want another one of these. We don't want to hear that you got something that's unlike, because that's the way it's a business there at the publishing house. And all they recognize are the numbers. And so in their mind, we want a book that's just like the one that we already know that's sold. We don't want something different. And so that's that hard part. Now, like you were saying earlier, with anything, of course, there's a yin and a yang to it.
Yes.
But the thing is, now everybody can get published because you can self-publish, of course, through Amazon or one of the other platforms. But because of that, there's nobody like guarding the quality of the books and what's being written. Right. So, you can't really say to a person that, hey, it's not ready yet, because they can take it straight to market, and ultimately the people decide. So, again, it could be a good and a bad thing. And I think the other thing that hurts a lot of, especially indie authors, is if you just publish through Amazon, Amazon don't share their numbers. That's why you don't see people who make the Amazon #1. They're not on USA Today or New York Times, because those numbers are not being shared. So because of that, there's no book scan numbers. So when you go to a large publishing house, they don't really know how to gauge what you're selling. Okay. They really at your mercy of you just turning in your reports, and then they got to believe that the reports are indeed, what you're turning in, because they don't have no way to go and verify it. When you tell units through stores, you got book scan, and you can just go on there and see how many units were scanned and sold.
Okay, so I have a question. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So I don't know if you're familiar with Jacqueline J. Are you familiar with her?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so she's been hitting them #1 spots on Amazon.
Right.
So I interviewed her earlier in the season, and she said that she did a treatment plan and she shopped Capone and Capadonna out to pub, and they didn't want her. Mm-hmm. Now she hitting #1, and she's been #1 for. Right. I mean, may not be #1 today, but she in the top 10.
Right, definitely.
Do you think the publishers are kicking themselves in the ass because of that?
Yeah, whoever the lead editors are, and I don't know or whoever, I don't know which person she spoke with there in acquisition, but I'm sure but that's the thing, is that they have no way of really knowing how to do the due diligence, again, with Amazon, outside of going and looking at sales rank. And because that sales rank, sometimes with, our books, we only hold it for a short amount of time. Again, they're looking at estimated sales, so they don't really know. But I'm sure if they're smart, they're kicking themselves, because you know what that series has done. You know what type of numbers she does. So, that was just a thing of them not being astute enough to look at that, you know. But yeah, I definitely think whoever that is definitely kicking themselves.
I mean, several people, several
Yeah,
publishing houses,
yeah.
because she said they was like, nope, this
Well,
is
and to be honest, the money is not fair like it used to be. So at one time, because every publishing house is pretty much set up on the 80-20 rule. You know, 20% of the titles do 80% of the revenue. 80% of the titles, they're never going to even make their reprint, right? So that's how all of the publishing houses are pretty much set up. And so again, when it's like that, they African American understanding the amount of volume that we're doing in this, they don't get that yet. They do not understand it yet, because most of the time what happens is that if they come and let's say grab and I'm doing the air quote sign because I don't have visual yet, but the thing is that they're looking at ebook, generally are the readers. So most of the main publishers are making a predominant amount of their money, of course, still through print. So they're unsure on what type of sales the ebooks will transition to the print material. And so
right.
that's the big thing, is understanding how those dollars are going to be recouped. But that's why they need new blood in that, in my opinion. And that's why a lot of them are doing what they call hybrid publishing deals now.
Yes.
So that's becoming popular. They got same version of that as a literary agent now. So this person says, oh, well, maybe you pay for it, I represent you, I'll get some money if I can get you a deal. You know, it didn't used to be like that, you know. And so that everybody's trying to figure out the way to stay relevant going forward here, in a place where really, again, an independent person can come and, you know, I'm sure Jaquel is doing crazy numbers compared to people who are published authors, doing nowhere near those numbers.
Right.
You know?
Right. So, okay, with that being said, do you feel like authors should still want to be traditionally published, in your opinion?
You know, I would say this. If you're a person who you just want to write, all right, that's all you want to do. You just want to write. You don't want to have to be committed to, like we was talking about earlier, social media, doing a different thing, the events and stuff like that. Traditional publishing or some form of publishing is probably what you're going to need, because you're going to need somebody who's constantly handling the business part of it for you. But if you're a person that has some business acumen, or you got somebody around you who can handle that part, I would say, you know, get started on your own and then look at what type of deal you possibly can get, because, you know, they're not handing out large deals anymore anyway. So, you know, what you're getting is I don't want to say such a minimum, because again, if you're a person that don't have that other business acumen, you don't want to go through having to make sure you can promote and going and doing these events, then a publishing house works for you. But if you don't have no problem with doing those little things, I don't feel like it's worth giving the lion's share of your royalties away.
Right.
As well as, you know, your copyrights and stuff.
Okay. So, with all that being said, I have a confession.
All right.
I read Country Girls.
Well, I'm glad.
But I read it in 2018. I read it again, and I realized I read
did
the
you?
story already. Huh?
Oh, you read it again? Okay.
I did. I'm 88% in the 5th book. And I
Well,
was like,
at least that must mean it's good enough for you to
huh?
read twice. We're gonna go with that.
Huh?
I said that means it's at least good enough for you to have read twice.
It is, because I
So,
was like, when I first read the first, I was like, this sounds so familiar, but I'm not sure. You know, because I'm a addict.
right.
And I was like, I don't know if I read this. And so when we got to the end of book 3, I was like, I read this before.
Right.
I read this before, because I remember her going to jail and her going to Philly.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, okay, I remember this. I got this. Now I got questions.
I'm glad you got a great night.
But I've been following you for many, many, many years. So this is an honor to have you here beside me talking to me. So I appreciate that.
You. Definitely appreciate it.
I have a few questions. So let's go back to the publishing for a second.
Okay.
Would you ever consider going back into publishing?
I do sometimes think about it. Yeah, I would. I would. Just because, you know, I like I like working with people, especially in that primary stage when they're trying to get developed and everything. Because this is all books have been my life. This is what I've always dealt there, and I love seeing what we have today, where you got people who can bring their stories and not only bring that story to life, but actually monetize it into a thing to where this is what they can do for a living. So now we're much more in control of our material, of our perspective of what we want to paint. Like you was talking about earlier, we don't have a lead editor that's sending you that book back and say, no, change that. We don't want that. We want this type of thing. You don't have that going on. You can write whatever it is that, your mind, your creativity take you to. So I think I have a passion to do that part. It's just that sometimes the business aspect, especially in our industry, because it's such a thin line. Like I don't want to do business with a person who I don't like, in a sense.
Right.
I want to guard my energy and my spirit, and that's how I feel like for the other person too. So like if we don't gel, then there's no need. So I tell people like I'm not signing an author. I'm really like we're business partners. So I will partner with somebody to bring about, their book and stuff. But I don't want to do any more of the thing of like, hey, I'm the publisher, you're the author.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. So when are we gonna see a new book?
I'm working on something. So that was the other thing. I didn't want to just push. And I had a couple of series that I knew I wanted to finish, but this is the business side of it. Because I was in licensing deal for certain books, I was waiting on those deals to kind of expire so I can go and put out, the final version and do some updates, kind of like what you've seen with Country Girl.
Like
I want
a
to change
facelift.
up the cover, right? Put some of the books together, because when we originally did them, it was back when the ebooks were like, again, like you saying, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's condense them. Let's get it down into 2 books, and let's get them where we can do it for the paperbacks. It's all one version instead of having, 5 ebooks, but then only 2 paperbacks.
Yes.
Let's just streamline and just kind of clean it up. Because again, the market is transitioning, so we're trying to transition along with that.
So I've talked to a lot of authors this season. Mm-hmm. I probably talked to over maybe 60 to 80 authors.
Okay.
And with that, some of them last and some of them don't. What is the key to longevity?
Oh yeah. I think that the thing is that you have to be bendable. Like you have to be willing to transition and learn. Like, just like I'm on the phone with Toya, she the one talking me through how to get on this TikTok, right? And this is the thing that it's probably just not within the publishing industry, but I just think sometimes we have this in our community, is that we want to, instead of embracing the new people that are coming up, we want to try to guard, and we want to tell the other people that you didn't have it as hard as this. And so we want to try to kind of make it like that, when we need to be learning from each other. Like I was talking about earlier, when the ebooks came, the reason why we got so many new authors was because all of the published writers was like, yeah, I'm not doing ebook. I'm not making my book 99 cents. Right. And this is the thing, guys. I was talking to Toya and I was telling her, like, sometimes we have people who are kind of at the vanguard, and you got to watch, like Omar Tyree. I was telling her, Toya, like, he started the African American urban as a section in the stores, because they didn't have that before that. Right now, Sister Soldier and Coldest One Ever solidified that section, because that was a best-selling book that came off and hit New York Times like quickly. So then they saw what can happen. Those were the first time they opened up the door for Terry Woods to come in with True to the Game, Be More Careful. those books opened up because those were independent books that were now being distributed into the mainstream stores. That
Right.
wasn't happening. People don't understand. Back then, especially, the stores were set up like grocery stores. Simon and Schuster and Random House and Pink, they own the shelf space. So it wasn't no putting no other book up there unless you came through one of them. So again, Terry opened that up, and then Vicky Stringer came in with Triple Crown, and that just opened it up for street lit now. Now we
Right.
really urban street lit because, you know, you got Quan and Deja King doing the Bitch series. So now we got real language, real urban street covers coming on these things, not just the words. You know, again, true to the game, be more careful with just the word. But now with the Triple Crown books, now you're starting to see the images really. And so again, that part taking it. But each one of them, when those street books came, all the mainstream writers were like, oh, that's not literature. We don't respect that. When Terry was dropping that, Vicky would, all of the, I won't name those people, but the people who wrote mainstream, they were like, oh, those are the ghetto books. We don't even respect that. Again,
Why? But
that's- I
that
don't-
was the
listen,
hell out of me.
I'm telling you.
Why?
I don't know the reason why but if you solve that issue, me and you ain't got to worry about books. We're gonna make billions on solving our social situation. If you can figure that part out. But that's what happened was that Guardian, they wanted to keep out the urban authors. Then what happened? The urban guys bust in there. All of the authors that come through, like I said, Triple Crown and all the, Wahida, all of them that bust through the thing. But then what happened is when the ebooks come and they start seeing these 99¢, guess what? Those same people who got held out by the traditional mainstream writers, they wanted to hold out the ebook authors now, as they call them. Now they want the, oh, that ain't, you selling your book for 99¢. Oh, you devaluing the content, da 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 da. So they don't want to transition. The ebook people come in, they start taking it, going to a next level, going to next level again, dominating Facebook. And then as a new group come, because I won't go through that hard, but it's main publishers. And those publishers held the reins for a long time and they let nobody else in. Now we at a point to where it's open. And again, this thing it'll transition. There'll be a new group. The thing will be, will you change or will you be fighting whatever that new thing is that's coming? Maybe it's audio, maybe it's something else. I'm not sure. But will you fight it or you going to get in there, learn from it, learn what the people are doing and stay relevant?
Well, they doing something new with audio right now.
They definitely are. They definitely are.
I've heard a few books. And it is the effects with them just talking about the books, and if it's a sexual scene, you hearing clapping, you hearing
right. And it's going to develop. But the thing is that so what happens is that because that's not where some of us are making our money currently, we're going to exclude that because a lot of what you're seeing is in beta right now. And they're testing it. They're figuring out how to make improvements on that. The AI parts and all those things you're talking about. It'll get there.
No, they don't need it because these narrators is killing the game.
They're killing it. Right. Yeah. But that'll be the thing is how will we, will we embrace that? I know it was a situation earlier and now, I won't, because I know everybody kind of feel their own way. I think it was a young lady who had done something on YouTube with some books. She narrated.
Read them.
Right. So, wherever people stand on that, that's not my thing is just saying that is showing you, though, that there's an audience for that type of, material and a performance. And so the thing is, again, we're going to either fight it all the way through or we're going to figure out, hey, we better figure out now how we're going to get ourselves lined up because that'll be the new motion.
Right, because to me, that's me personally. I feel like that's stealing.
Right. But I'm telling you, everybody, again, when the easy ebooks first came, we thought they were stealing too because we were like, hold on, how are we going to stop you? Because we just loading this book up onto this thing. We have no idea really. We just, how we are. We just believe Amazon. Amazon said 10 people downloaded your book. Well, we had no idea on knowing that, but we just say, okay, they wouldn't lie to us, right?
Shit.
But I'm saying that, like you're talking about, the thing that we thinking on is that it's always mistrust
I'm sorry for
or
cussing.
unsurety, you know?
I'm sorry for cussing, but
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, I get it. Man, that's why I said they gonna make it where you can't go nowhere else.
so I have a question. Okay, so let's talk about design, because they control a lot of the book market. Um, I'm a component. I am a component of creating your space, uh, due to the political climate that we're in, and selling your stuff yourself, figuring out how to sell your ebooks yourself, cutting out the middleman. What do you think about that? Just cut
Yeah,
out the middleman and you sell it yourself.
yeah. I think the thing is that it's gonna depend on where you at in your process. So if you're a person who you haven't been working, you've been a full time writer for the last 3 years, 4 years, because of what Amazon pays you, what you're able to get. It's hard because that person has to figure out how they're gonna gauge losing the income in the meantime of developing something new, right? Because that's what you're going to have to figure out. Where are you going to send people? Will you be sending? And Amazon is a company that they track. So if you're familiar with the attribution tags and stuff, Amazon knows exactly who's bringing consumers from social media to buy on their platform, who are just selling strictly through their platform. They understand that, and so they know when sales are being sent elsewhere, and what that does is going to affect your organic rank. So again, it just depends on where you at in that process. I can't tell a person, hey, go try to change this, and Amazon sending you that money every month because it comes every month. Whereas you getting over
Yeah,
here, you
but
start.
Amazon only paying authors. What is it? They're changing it.
Oh yeah, well now it's if you're under nine, if you're under 9.99, under $10, you're gonna be getting 50% royalties instead of 60%. So that's gonna be big for us on the paperbacks um, side of it. Especially depending upon what you're paying for your print. Because I know a lot of people price their books lower for the print one because they really just trying to get it out there and they already making minimum amount anyway. And so you get down to 50%, that's 10% off your bottom line that's coming off right off the top. So that will affect some people, but I think that if you're smart, you're gonna learn how to, in a sense, not I'm gonna say steal away, but learn the right margins where you need to be at. Put a certain amount into growth and development, understanding that TikTok, the store that you can sell through there, Shopify, the company like these where you can get on there directly shipping things along that line. Even doing stuff through, myself, I do the Amazon sellers thing so that I also do the associate thing. So when I'm pushing my books, I not only get that, I get my 20% commission because I'm advertising on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff. So trying to make sure again that I'm able to keep as much revenue as possible.
Yeah. Um, but the current political climate, what are your thoughts?
Say that one time.
Is black books, the literary space, is it in danger?
No, I think that that has always been. They always say that. Like when we was getting to the street books, they say, "Oh, the street books gonna take it," and such and such. At the end of it, the audience is gonna dictate where we end up, right? And it's something about classic literature that the difference. You can like whatever the new books are, the ones where it's just a great title, a great catchy thing, but those books that when I say winner, who you think about. When you start, like we was talking about this before, and I was talking about people like Tracy Brown, again Deja King, Danielle Santiago, people like these people, these are classic books that you still can give, and again, a person you're gonna know the difference.
Yeah,
So
but what I'm saying is with the political climate, like they're trying to say that you can't write about nudity, you cannot write about sexual acts.
Oh, got you, got you. Okay, yeah, my apologies. I missed
That's
that part.
okay.
No, that is something to where, you know, that's gonna be a little tricky because especially if we're still doing things through the mainstream. And I think this gets back to what you're talking about when we start to be able to get our stuff directly to people. But that part, that's one of those ones that, you know, we hopefully we only gonna be dealing with for about what, 2, 3 more years here.
Yeah, but the way they going, they steamrolling ahead like we can't do nothing. And I know a lot of people's livelihood is based on
One.
books.
Yes, yes, yeah. That then that's the part that to me why I think that, and this might be being a little naive, but normally, long as the revenue is there, I just can't see them cutting that part strictly on politics. I can see them pandering that part of it to act like they want to cut it, but I can't see that.
Because to
Yeah.
me, you're invading on my free speech.
Right. Right. And that's the part that I think that when you start getting into classical material that have those same sexual things there, you know, I mean, you can read Huckleberry Finn and it has those things there. And so that when you start talking about classical literature, I just can't see that.
Yeah, but I just think that they classify us, meaning
Right.
us,
Right.
against, what different from everybody else.
No, I definitely, yeah. Because you know how they say they get a cold, we're gonna catch the flu. So if they'll start with us.
Right,
I'm sure. Uh,
right. Um, what do you feel like is your greatest achievement
oh,
in this space?
my greatest achievement has always been that I told my mother that she could stop working at the people's house. That's always gonna be my greatest achievement.
I
I
love
got my
that.
first deal. I was in New York. I called my mom and told him, yeah, tell him you ain't coming back up there.
I
So and my
love
mother had
that.
worked since. So that's it. That's my greatest one. I always tell this story that when I'm doing my thing, like I was probably about 6 years old, 7 years old. You know how you always want to go to work with your mother?
Hmm.
And I wanted to go to work with my mama, and she let me go one day. And we walked there. Cause
Oh,
she had so after walking there, I watched because my mother was a housekeeper, a maid, and she worked that whole time, and then we had to walk back home. So I knew, well, I had to figure something out because that wasn't gonna work for me. So again, that'll always be my greatest one.
do you feel like even with the subject matter that you write about, that your family is proud of what you've
Oh,
accomplished?
yeah. If you ever meet my ass, if you trust me, my mother, and that's I always say that before there was a Team Blake, that was the original Team Blake.
Oh,
Always. So she was pushing them books early, early.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. So, what's your thoughts on social media as it is today? You can't do nothing. You can't have no kind of business without a social media presence. What's your thoughts on that? Being an older author, most authors, they could run an ad and move on, but now the readers want engagement. They want to talk to you. They want to send you inboxes. They want to tell you how they feel if they liked the book, if they didn't. What's your
But
thoughts
I
on that?
think being an older author, I love this part of it because when we first got in it, you you had to go and find a customer. You didn't, like I said, we were doing events. I was going to New York. You standing on 125th, Atlantic, these areas where they had Black Star videos. And brother, they just had the tables out there on Canal Street and in Queens selling the book. You had to stand there and hustle those books off. But you would meet people, and then that's how people would learn about your book. And then hopefully this person might be from St. Louis and they take your book back to St. Louis, and eventually you work your way out there to get it into a library, into the store, on and on. So to me, it's the same thing. It just you actually getting to do it without needing that traveling money and to print
Hmm.
a bunch of them books. Because back in them days, you got to print 5,000 books to do a run. So now you got to take that stuff on the road. So now to be able to do it via social media, I mean, I don't think you can ask for more, and you can reach people all around the globe.
Do you care about your books being on the shelves now?
I always have for myself just because I know a big part of my readership. So I sell a lot of books to men who are incarcerated.
Hmm.
So I know the importance of. That's why I pretty much, if I'm doing an ebook, it's a paperback because I know that my readers, that's how a lot of them are gonna have to get the book. So yeah, it's just as important for me as well as we want to try to make sure we maximize our profitability. Every version that's out there.
Right.
uh,
Right. Yeah, I remember the days of selling out your trunk. I
right.
might be dating myself, but I'm from California. I'm from the Bay Area, so I remember when like Too Short started.
Yeah.
Um, because he started not far from my house, so
Now we will compete with
walking
the
up and down
guy.
the street selling mixtapes and selling
Hey,
books and
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. We was competing with them. Like my van would be wrapped with all the book covers. This guy right here, van is wrapped with all his music album covers and stuff. And like you said, we just pulling up like let's sell.
do you think it's better now than it was then when you I mean and what I mean by that is getting it out the trunk, you have to hustle.
Right.
Now with social media, you really don't have to get it out the trunk. Do you think that authors should still be kind of selling out the trunk of their car, so to speak?
I won't say that because I am a person who thinks that it's modern day technology, right?
Hmm.
So that's the thing about it. You should be working smarter, not harder. So I think that there's a dynamic for that, but there was a lot of money that was being spent doing it that old way. And so
Hmm.
now you got an opportunity again to reach people in a lot more efficient way, a lot larger way. To me, this is what, you can't ask for too much more than how we have it now.
Hmm.
Especially even like we was talking about, I was telling earlier. Like you look at the top 25, like it's not one publisher, it's not one author. Like it is open right now. If you
Hmm.
can write a good book, you got a chance.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I think this is definitely one of the greatest times I've seen as far as African American, and you got a great chance at fully getting your money.
Are you still a big reader?
Still read, yes.
You have some favorites?
Well, it wouldn't be novels right now because I just been kind of stuck on this space of like personal development. I'm reading one now called The Five Lessons by what's his name, Roy Goddard, Neville Goddard. I'm sorry, and so I've been more into that as of late
But
because I don't
you,
like to read novels when I'm writing
yeah.
because even though I don't want anything, sometimes the character talking to you, and I may not realize that that's Latoya's character that's talking to me.
Oh, okay.
Latoya called and cussed me out when I put that person in the book. Now, yeah,
She might.
she will, but no, so I try not to do the novels and stuff while I'm writing.
um, is it hard to write from a female point of view? Because in Country Girls, and let's talk about Country Girls for a bit.
Uh,
These women are ruthless. Was it
yeah.
hard to create characters, all the different female characters, and to write from their point of view?
The early books, not so much, just because a lot of it was stuff that I had grew up around, and so I'm just kind of taking the story, and so like I know exactly who Naya is, I know exactly who Gwen is, who Diamond is, all of these people, like, and so it wasn't difficult because I was just I credit my cousin Worth a lot of time with this because when we was young, and then we used to go do stuff. He was that person that would ask you 1,000 questions. So, you tell him, oh yeah, I went over a house. Where she live? What kind of house is it? What color is this? What? And so he got you to when you start telling the story, you give all of these details and everything. And so with me, when I started writing, that I almost started writing it just like if I was talking to him. And how would I describe this stuff to him? And so that's when my early writing, most of it, I think, is written in third person, just because it's almost like me just sitting there telling you the story.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, one of the things that we argue about here on social media a lot is the relevance of street lit, urban fiction, however you want to define it. Why do you feel like it's necessary to have these stories?
Oh man, one of the I would say as I would give as my most important is I remember I can't think of his last name right now. Marty, the guy who wrote The Godfather. But I remember listening to him on an interview, and he was saying one of the things by him being an Italian American that he wanted to humanize these characters. And I think that that's always been my thought too, is that a lot of times when people think of, especially some of our main characters in these books, they don't think of them as these human beings. You know, like we watching The Sopranos, at some point you're really rooting for Tony,
Right.
right? But we don't generally paint our guys like that. And so that's why, like, for me, and like books like A Thug Worth Fighting For, I want to show that these are black men the same way that what these guys are doing, and that we glorify them and respect the way that even though they're doing this, they're taking care of their family, they're good fathers, they're good sons, you know, they're good husbands, maybe doing something that they shouldn't be doing to provide, but they're doing what they can at that time. And so that was one of my things, is I wanted to be able to tell our story and humanize our people. The
Right.
same, you know, stories that they do with theirs.
Well, you've done a great job because I thoroughly enjoy them.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
I feel like people misinterpret street books as just ghetto.
Ghetto,
They don't
right.
really go for the meaning of the story, whether it's a love story, whether it's a, a retribution book, whatever the case may be. They don't look at the origin of the story, what's going on in the story. All they see are,
Right.
I know we have to be careful with our words here on TikTok, the pow pows, the pew pews, as we call them, and the unalivings. Everybody's being unalive and everybody's being pew pewed.
Right, right.
But they really don't see the tenderness that this man may have for this woman, or this woman may have for this man, or how they have to feed their kids because they don't have the opportunities
Right.
as others.
Exactly.
You know,
Like you said, it's the human side of it. It's the other part to it. Because even with some other cultures, they can have the necessities, but it's still like they going for the excess, and we're okay with that. All right, and so it's this again. It's the same thing for us in our culture.
right,
You know,
right.
it's just the difference between why they are hitmen and then I was a stick up kid. You know,
Or we're gangs and they're mafia.
right, right, exactly. So a
There'll be a
fan,
mafia book in a minute.
right, and there's no problem. That's what I'm saying. So it's like someone has to tell our story. You know, someone has to humanize us. And that is what I
But
think
is
is
that
the
hard to
part.
do for you? Is humanizing characters, is that hard to do?
No, because we know them guys. Like we know all of them. Like I don't care who it is, the baddest guy that you know or whatever. Somebody somewhere love that man. That girl, same thing. That whoever we think the bad is somebody that loves. So that's somebody mama, somebody daughter, somebody sister, and they got love for that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I think that's important for us to be reflective in when we're writing. Now, I think that, you know, sometimes we can't go to the extreme, but sometimes you got to have that part of it so that we can keep an idea of what, like you was talking about earlier, so we don't get to where we start politicking out what we don't agree with.
Do
Right.
you have a favorite character out of your catalog?
You would be mine. Y'all would be having a little part and everything. So let me think who out of everybody. That's hard because they like your children. Is you gonna say is your favorite child? That's a hard thing. Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
you
have
don't have
to.
to answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna
It's,
say I'm
it's,
gonna
it's
tweak
up to
on
you.
that.
But some people
Yeah,
have a favorite character. Do you have a
yeah.
favorite book?
Now I will say my favorite book is God Forgives, the Streets Don't. I just, it's my era. And when I wrote that book, that was my first time writing first person.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had to write it like that because again, that's my era. It's that late 80s, early 90s setup. It's me being from the South and having partners that was from up north and them coming down during that whole era, them 80s and 90s where you had the mixture of the Jamaicans, when you start talking street lit. You talking about like the Jamaicans, the Haitians coming up from Florida, the New York guys coming down, and I remember when I released that book and somebody had did under a review. It was a young lady, and I'm guessing she was from New York, but I had the guys in New York that had gold teeth. And she was like, yeah, you obviously never been to New York because, they don't wear gold teeth. And I'm laughing because I'm like, it's not made up. This is real history type written stuff. And she just too young to probably remember in the 80s, especially the Brooklyn guys. They all had gold teeth that were coming down
Right.
south to, especially North Carolina. So, but God Forgives, the Streets Don't. It was probably my favorite book just writing.
Okay. What was the hardest book to write?
The hardest book, what would have been my hardest one? That's a good question. I'm gonna tell you, generally, some of my more mainstream stuff, like "What Kind of Man Would I Be," which I enjoyed that book, was a little harder to write because it wasn't as street. And whereas
Mm-hmm.
the early stuff that I was writing, and honestly, was a lot of stuff that I had experienced. And so when I started, you get past that in books like The Beard Gang Chronicles, things like that, those were a little harder because you got to really reach into yourself to pull that out. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not writing a story that I lived.
Okay.
No.
Um, I know you have a family. I know you have from my understanding, you have a wife.
Yeah.
But out of your catalog, who would you marry? Who would you kill? Who would you smash? Smash, marry, and kill.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Okay, so Mary gonna be Brianna out of Trap Star.
Okay.
And then you said Smash.
Mm-hmm.
Smash is gonna be let me see. I'm gonna go Sloan out of the King of the South.
Okay.
Uh, and then what was the last one?
Kill.
Kill.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Unalive. I'm sorry. TikTok.
Monet out of God Forgives, the Streets Don't. And
Okay.
when you read that, you're gonna know exactly why for sure.
Okay. Okay. Uh, do you miss being in the literary space like every day, like you were? Because you was like dropping
Yes.
books.
I do because we had, and I miss the Facebook days where we had the groups and we would get in them groups and be in them things all night. We would have like TBRS after dark, everything. Yes, for sure.
Why you don't bring that back, sir? Come on, bring it back.
We got to get the group together.
But the part of it is Facebook is over there. They're kind of ratchet.
They are.
I'm nervous going over there.
Nah, we had to bring them over here. That's all. We just got to get the group together and then bring the people. But
We be live. We talk about books. We do that.
well, we
over
got
here.
that. We just got to get it back to where it's a common thing. Because I'm talking about, I can remember like every night. That's what everybody was waiting on. Like we just wait for y'all Midwesters and West Coast people for that time thing to come on.
Y'all be waiting on us because
That's it.
we in the past.
Y'all always been a little farther back, but nah, that's for sure there.
I'm hollering.
But,
Hold on, just 2 seconds. I think I found my. I didn't.
mhm.
I'm looking for my questions, and I have some more questions that I wrote down for you,
Okay.
and I cannot find my appointment book, which is beyond me. Okay, God, it's right here. All right, here it is. I found them. All right, so let me ask a couple of more questions. Um, these are the questions I'm looking for. Um, what's the one thing that you will always include in your books?
A strong male character.
So, in just because I read Country Girls recently and it's fresh on my mind,
Mhm.
I'm thinking Eagle
Eagle, right? Eagle, yeah.
because
Eagle.
Chad disappointed me.
He did, yes, yeah, yeah.
He really disappointed me. And what's his name? Domino.
Uh huh.
I liked him, but I felt like I get why he was insecure. I do. And if y'all need to know why he was insecure, y'all have to read it yourself.
Yeah. But that's what I can say, because even the Chad character, now the Chad character is based off of somebody that I knew growing up. That situation is very, very close. And it was unexpected even at the time for this person, because that person that I knew, his brother had been through so much, you never thought that that would have happened. But he did. It just was like, it will show you that there are things that sometimes a person just doesn't see. And that was really my first experience with somebody who had, like you said, unalived themselves. So that part, I felt like, yeah, I got to put that in the book, because it shows too why. And I don't mess up the story, but why Naya needed someone like Eagle now, you know, because that part where I don't care who, and it's my opinion, so I better say it like that.
Or he said, "Don't tell the book," but
Right,
we just
but
talking about this one part.
my opinion is, at some point, that if the woman will become exhausted, having to be the emotional upholder of the relationship, and I think that's why I made sure that Naya, and like you said with Eagle, that I knew that's what she needed.
She did,
Right.
but she was getting on my nerves
she,
because she didn't have to do
she
that
created a lot of trouble, right?
for nothing. You got
Yeah.
money. Go see about your babies later.
Right, right. But I think, and that was the thing about with her and Gwen, which was made them really why they were the perfect friends. They were the perfect two leaders for that, because one had taken on the sisterhood beyond anything, and I think Gwen was the one who understood the children.
Right.
I think that was just the part that Naya, for whatever, because she had no. It's hard, even for as a man or a woman, that once she put on the thing that I gotta take care of everybody. So now that become the problem. It's hard to wear that and then come and try to just be a mother just to the children. Because again, Chad had don't kind of maneuvered into that, which happens. With men in general. I ain't even talking about with hustling. Just got a woman at work. After a while, it just seems like she can do that easier. And I think you got to be careful with that. That's another book, but
Is it gonna be a book 6?
I do have to end that part. So I think that's definitely, because that's the one series that I was like, I wanted to do one more, which is why, like you was talking about that last question, where yeah, she got to go back and clean that up. Then it's done.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. What do you love about being an author, and what do you hate about it?
Man, I love the fact that it's my therapy to get out everything, my creativity and stuff. And then I got to thank Almighty God that it has allowed me to be able to do. I ain't worked really ever, because I've been doing this my whole life. I got into books and I just been in that. So whether, like I said, was selling them to publishing them and to now to writing them, yeah, it's always just been my life. It's been literature. So, you know, and I can't say nothing. There's nothing bad about it because I was raised. That's what my mother gave me that early with Donald Goins, Iceberg Slim. I grew up reading these books, so I always loved reading.
I just
So
acquired that whole catalog for Donald Goines.
yeah, yeah. Like I know most of those books by heart. Like I used to have just because I had read them so many times, highlighting and everything. So especially the Iceberg Slim book. So, but all of them. And
Okay.
books have given me so much again. I raised my children off of it. This is it.
So, do you think any of your kids will be an author?
Man, my daughter, she did one book. So I set her up to do it, and she kind of comes in and out. She can write though. Now she definitely, if she decides to do it. She'll be the best one out of us. But she ain't clicked in yet.
Do you think you'll ever venture in other genres?
I got a paranormal in my head. I do. I got a vampire and a werewolf book in my head.
Okay, well, we'll put it
And
on hold.
Latoya tell me
Be
don't tell
waiting.
the book. So that might be from earlier, but but I definitely do. So
Okay. I like it. I like it. I like it. Um, what would your readers be shocked to know about you?
let me think. I mean, outside of me being boring, but they may already know that because I am. You
But you
know,
seem like you had a wild life. Like you might need to be born right now.
that was it early on though. But early on, so we got all that out. So now, yeah, I'm very boring. You know, I think that might be about it.
Okay. Uh,
Oh, and this might be something because my wife told me this. So I just started watching and fell in love with the Cosby Show.
I know you fucking lie.
I ain't lying. I never because I was in the world at that age. I was young when the Cosby, like we was out in the street. We never.
You
And
just now starting to watch the
listen,
Cosby Show?
I've been telling my partners, bro, y'all should watch this thing. It's good. Like it's funny. Everything. I got one of my partners watching it now. Like man, like I never watched that show. And so now going back and watching it, man, it's funny. I be telling her, she be like, you the only one who ain't seen all these things. So that might be the one of the most shocking thing, but I had never
That
watched
is so I apologize.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can you describe yourself in one word?
In one word.
Yes.
Oh man, let me brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How important are visuals in this day and age? So like the Toya said legendary, and I agree with that too. Um,
Oh, tell oh.
see you in
I'm
the
hard.
comments talking. Uh, like one thing these readers want is what the characters look like.
Hmm.
How important are visuals for you, or do you care?
It's not as big for me just because by me being a reader for so long, I love the fact that you know that person is whatever I picture in my head. And I think sometimes when we, with the visuals, that now you make that person the person. Whereas I might have saw her or him a different way in my head. And so I'm not as big for the visual. Even with covers, I don't particularly like to put a full face on that. But, at the end of the day, I go with the graphic designers because, I know that that's their gift is that too. So, I'm going to yield to that person, but I'm not as big with the visuals like that. So
Okay.
that might just be a man thing though, too. Like it's not a big thing for me to go in there and that because a lot of times that I've already pictured that character because my partners all know they all in through my books.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of times I'm trying to describe the person opposite of what the person looked like for real. so, uh, so when I'm thinking of the visual, it wouldn't work anyway. So,
Okay. What's too far in a book for you? What will you never write about?
oh man, can I? Let me see. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
Or you feel like everything's fair game?
now I'm gonna tell you, I think everything's fair game for the author if that's what they want to write, but not me. Like, there's stuff that I don't want to visualize, and so when I write, I have to visualize it, and so I'm not gonna write about something that I don't want to visualize. So, and I'm gonna stay politically correct with that, but you know,
Are,
like, yeah.
are book titles hard to come by? Can you just create a book title and be like, okay, I have to write to this, or
I will say that it's much easier now because I don't think that the titles are as important keyword wise as it was just a few years ago. When you understood Amazon algorithm a few years ago, you needed to have those keywords in there because that's what triggered the algorithm. So if the number one selling book back then might have been Secrets of a Side Nigga or Secrets of a Side Bitch, I think. One of those. So if you had bitch, if you had side, you're gonna come up in that search, and that's the number one book. So you gotta kind of pick your title to go along with that. That's not happening because Amazon has changed the algorithm now to where the keywords now are done on relevancy. And so they don't allow you just to do what they used to call stacking of keywords. So now you really could do whatever title you want to do as long as, you're pushing your book. So I think that it's not as important as it once was, but I do think that because there's, again, so much content, you want to have something to catch people.
okay. Uh, if you can induct 3 authors to the Author Hall of Fame, who would they be?
Um, Alice Walker, because I think The Color Purple was probably the best written book for me that I ever read. I could read it over and over again because it goes, it's so much depth in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta do Alice Walker. Then I gotta do
The first one has been, the first, she's never been inducted, but I like it. Keep going.
oh yeah, man. I mean, if you ain't read The Color Purple, I'm telling you, this. I'm going classic.
I've read it.
Yeah, like this is classical class. That's why I'm saying this make it hard because, man, like I love when Terry had done Disappearing Acts. I think Disappearing Acts was like again, I like depth type books. So, but then I gotta say like Iceberg Slim, Donald Goins. So let me go with. Can I go with? Let me do them 4 there.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
I'm gonna tell you another person who just. I think Ernest Gaines writes great books.
Okay,
Walter Mosley, like great books. So yeah, that's a hard one. We gotta do male and female authors.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna let you have it. Um, what's I'm trying to figure out which question is best.
Right.
Um, okay, I'll just go with my favorite question. If you can invite 5 authors, dead or alive, to dinner, who would they be?
Okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna go back through them. Iceberg Slim, Donald Goins,
Okay,
um, James Baldwin.
okay.
Uh,
You gonna let me serve the cocktails, right?
for
I'm a nice
sure.
bartender. I promise you, your drinks will be good.
Uh, man. See, I like Toni Morrison because I gotta do because of the bluest eyes. I gotta that the writing on that is just incredible to me. And then who else would I be? How you make this one? I got who else am I just throw in there? I need somebody who gonna keep it. Who I'm gonna take? I'm gonna go with
You better say Latoya Nicole before she passed
Oh,
out.
I'm gonna take Latoya. Okay, yeah, now give me Toya. But let me give another honorable mention to Claude Brown, Man Child in the Promised Land.
Okay. Y'all better have wrote.
Oh man, and I'm forgetting. Oh, my other brother, Make Me Wanna Holler. You know what I'm talking about? Nathan McCall.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Yes. Nathan McCall, Make Me Wanna Holler. That was a great book too. Yeah. So yeah, again, you're making me think back to when I just was, more of a reader.
See, look at God. Look at me.
Yeah.
Are you an outliner or do you just?
Yes, I learned how to write using the outline. So yeah, and because I'm never in the same mood, like I like to outline out the book, and then that way, if I'm in a mood and I got to write a party scene and I'm in that mood, I can write that, And if I got to be in another mood, I'm definitely an outliner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might work on 2 or 3 projects at one time. So.
Let me ask you this question. This is one of my other favorite questions. What's your definition of the great American novel? As you see it, not as society, but as you see it, and have you reached that status?
If you don't experience all levels of emotion, then it hasn't been that. And that's what I try to do. Like, I want you to cry. I want you to laugh. I want you to hurt. I want you to be excited or happy for them. When I did this, I don't know if you read my book, Baby, Please Come Home to Me. And that was one of those ones where, again, even though it was a novella, it's a shorter book, I wanted to make sure, again, that I got to hit each one of those points. And you got to be surprised about something. So that's my whole thing. That's why when I was telling you, like, one of my favorite books being The Color Purple, because, like, my mother can read that. I can read that. My daughter can read that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you are. It's going to hit something, right? Just because the time, the age, what people were going through, it's an experience. And so to me, that's a great American novel. That's when you know you did that. When then people come up out of there and they don't cry, they don't laugh, they've been excited.
It didn't hit. It didn't do what it was supposed to.
Everything. Right. It did it. Yeah.
So I've been on a campaign to look for more male authors. What advice would you have for a young man or young male authors who are just now hitting the game?
To make sure that you get enough readers to read over your material that are outside of your group. Because I think sometimes, especially as men, because we write what we think we want the people to read rather than what they may want to read. And so, like, I used to get a lot of books from brothers who was incarcerated looking to get published. And it'd be like, bro, you had a lot of stuff happening, but it's not a story. Like, and I get it, because I get sometimes as men, we're so much more, just visual, that all they want to do is paint. He was big. He had money. This was the car, more so than the story. Now realizing that the readers, because 85% of them going to be female, that they want to get to, how does he feel about her though? We know she bad. We know that she's beautiful. We know that he got money and every woman should want him. But the feeling part, so I'll tell you to male authors, is make sure you got a good female base around you that you can have read it. Like I say, Toya gonna tell me, yeah, Blake, I don't really like him, or whatever I do like it. That's how Genesis, people like that who I can bounce stuff off of, that, and they're an honest group. No, they're not just gonna tell you got a good book. But so that's what I would tell. If you're a male, make sure you get a good female reader, advanced readers, honest one.
Good, solid advice. I like that. I really like that because I've never asked that question for just male authors. I've always just asked for authors in general, but because you are a male author, you've been in this game a good long time. I would love to see more male authors in this space. It's really dominated by females right now.
It is. It is because again, they dominate the readership, and if the men don't, you know, learn how to, because it's really learning how to tell a full story. But the problem sometimes that happen with men, and I'm critical whether male or female, because I think this is what hurts our industry, is that people will see someone who's having success, and they'll get into writing not because they love writing, but because they think they can make some money. This is their new hustle. This is, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm going to do a book and I'm going to get out here and make that. That's not the right reason to get into write a book. And then sometimes that's the part that shows is that you put something together just to get it out there rather than making sure that, you know, you fine tune this product and that you really had the passion to do it.
Right.
So, but that is one of the things that when I see the industry now, I'm like, yeah, they just putting out, you know, they're just trying to get the book out. Not worried about the quality of it. But the thing is that you want to be here 5 years. Like I used to say this to authors. Go on there now. Look at the top 20. Now, Google what it was last year this time. Some of them names that were on it last year this time, none of them even exist no more. They're not even in the top 100. They gone. And go to the year before that. It's a whole other list from that. So if you want to make sure that you're here, you got to make sure you're putting out a good product.
How do you combat writer's block?
It's get hard. It's get hard. That's why I need an outline, because an outline will give you at least you know the point. And one thing Walter Mosley told me this years ago. He said, write every day. Touch that story every day. That way it'll keep fresh in your mind. You can't put those stories down and come back to them a month later and think you're just going to pick back up. So that's the main thing. If you're touching that book every day, if you ain't doing nothing but reading over it, keeping that character fresh in your mind, you'll be all right.
Okay. I like it. I like it. All right. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions for you. About you, and you tell me what hate to see you coming.
What hate to see me coming?
The Cosby Show.
They better love to see me coming. What hate to see me coming? I don't know.
Toya said the gym.
Money, I'm taking it with me, man. That's it. I don't know. That's a good.
Toya said the gym.
Oh, yeah, and then well, they better love to see me come. But we'll go with the gym there.
All right. Name something that everybody loves but you hate.
Oh, Handmaid's Tale, whatever that thing is.
Everybody don't love that shit. Sorry.
Oh, okay. The people I know be talking about they like I can't stand that.
I hate that.
Oh, well, good. Okay, well, you got the first person out of
Me, you agree.
We did agree on that one. Yeah, I'd be like, yeah. That it be some other shows too. I'm like, yeah, I ain't watching that. So.
You know what? I feel like Country Girls should have been a TV series, like a mini series or something. Let me tell you why. You wrote it like it's a series.
I did. Yeah, that's what that was my plan, and you know, I had great hopes of doing a TV thing. It just those deals never work out. I've been in 3 movie deals now, and yeah, they never work out. They shelve your stuff for 2, 3, 4 years, you know, and yeah, it's a whole nother industry.
Well,
yeah.
lovely.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
You never know what life brings your way. You
Well,
have
that's
no
the thing
idea.
now. My thing is when people reach out to me now, I always say, hey, the material's there, go make it and let me know what my percentage is. But that's my involvement. I don't want to get, before I would get involved, I shot a movie with some people before everything. Now I'm like, nah, this is, if y'all can put it together, put it together. And like I said, send me my portion.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Fill in the blank. Blank is life.
God.
Okay. My pen is
Fire.
all right. All right. Let me ask a couple of more questions and then we gonna wrap it on up.
Okay.
Do you feel like there's well, I'm not gonna say do you feel like there's some brokenness between newer authors and older authors. How can we bridge the gap?
Yeah, that's what I was telling you earlier. Me and you figure that out. We ain't gonna worry
Well,
about books.
just
Yeah.
what would you say? What would be your suggestion? Just one thing. We might have to put them all together.
I think the thing is communication on both people have to understand that the other has something that would make them better. For the new authors, the older authors have the format on understanding how to get everything out of your material because they had to do it. Right. When you had a book, then that book might cycle for 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is why a lot of the old authors still are making revenue off of old titles. Like some of my best selling books, like you talk about, that book's been out 7-8 years. And whereas the ebook authors, a lot of times it's just the newest book. And their old catalog is just old and then they're not making any revenue anymore. Now, from the old authors to the new, what they got to learn is that the new authors are showing you that it is about frequency. It is about engagement to the readers and keeping them engaged and staying active, like you said, and keeping yourself out there and staying relevant and pricing your content reflective of what the market is. Yeah, I know
Right.
you think your book is worth $25, but people not paying $25. You don't want to put the book in Kindle Unlimited. You're gonna hurt yourself. All these other the dynamics of the business part. So I think that if both of them, the old and the new, if you can get them to understand that if y'all can learn from each other, our segment grows because of that. That's the part that we've always missed is we don't when I see like Jaquel and them and like I think she was like top 10, like man, that's phenomenal. Like what she's doing, when we see that, what that's doing for the whole audience, for the whole genre, we should be celebrating. It's
Exactly.
opening up, right? It's the same thing when you see, when I remember reached out to Jaquez when I saw his thing go up on Amazon and I downloaded the movie, man. I'm like, yo, bro, like this is big because this is a door opener for the other ones that want to come behind and showing
Exactly.
this is how we can roll this out. And
Yep.
so if we would do a lot more cheering for each other, man, I think we all will be it. Because the thing about content is I don't care how many books I write. I can't write them fast enough for the reader. You're going to read them quicker than I can write them. And the same thing for Latoya and whoever else. So when we understand that, like we should be collaborating, not competing.
Yep.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with friendly competition. Staying competitive on that end because again, the reader can read both books.
Well, I know like some one we have an author in particular. She just dropped two books at one time. The part one and part two.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
mean that's the way that is going these days. Is
Yeah.
authors is they not just writing part one and you come out 6 months later. You gotta be a little bit quicker because they gonna move on to the next author. It's so many authors out here now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Some of them are good and some of them aren't.
That's
So,
it. And then that's what the older authors just got to start to understand,
yeah,
and
you
they
gotta move
know,
with the times.
yeah, that's it. That's it. No.
Well, I think that's all my questions for you. So I'm going to ask you to pop your shit a little bit. So you have any projects slated to come out 2025, 2026?
Yeah, so I'm the biggest project that I'm looking to drop in August is I'll be coming on my 20th anniversary of my first book, which was All or Nothing. And so that'll be coming up in August. And so what I want to do is I'm doing a 20th anniversary edition. And rather than writing a second book, I'm just going to do a special edition. And the second part is going to be called Now or Never, because the first part was called All or Nothing. And so, but I'm going to do it in one book.
Okay.
So that way, like, you got to get refreshed because I went in and you know how you go back and looking at my very first book, I seen things that I definitely would change. And so this giving me the chance to go in there and change them and add to stuff and parts that I think that make the story just so much more vibrant overall. And then as well as giving the ending in the second part to it.
Okay.
So that'll be going to be coming in August.
Congratulations. Can't wait
Thank
to
you.
celebrate with you. Hope you'll be celebrating with us when
I'm
your 20
definitely
year come in.
and I'm gonna have video privileges by then.
You better.
Cause I got I done came in here where I'm working on trying to do the backdrop. I'm like, let me get my back thing and everything, and then so but I'm gonna have the video privileges by then for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Are you going to come back outside in 2026,
Oh, I'm gonna
2027?
stay. We back outside. I'm definitely gonna be checking in now, especially now that I know how to get into the groups, like with Toya and stuff like that. So yeah, now I got you locked in. So when you be up on here, I'm definitely gonna be coming in.
Good, good, good. Um, I hope to see you at some of these events
For
that
sure.
they're coming out because there's a bunch of them.
Well, I'm definitely coming out to the thing next month in Atlanta. So
With
I
the
was
Gem
making sure
Awards
y'all talk to
or
D
a
Weed.
which one?
Well, let me double check which one that is. But I know I talked with
I think
David.
it's the Gem Awards and there's two, the Black Writers Weekend.
Okay,
I
so I
think they're
need
back
it.
to back.
Okay, so I think it's the Gym Award. But let me check on that Black Writers Weekend as well. So, because Atlanta's right down the street for us.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm always in Atlanta, so I'll be there
Okay.
for the Black Writers Weekend, and then I'll be between here and there in Alabama
Okay. Okay.
so, for a few
Yeah.
weeks.
So yeah, I'm definitely be down that way.
Okay, okay. I like it. I like it. All right, so let me pop my shit for a second. So season one is winding up, y'all. Season one of Pop Your Shit is winding up. I'm super duper excited. Thank you guys so much for supporting the. It just happened. It just happened one day, and here I am with a podcast. So, coming up, Pop Your Shit this week. Cassie is rescheduled, so we will not have her on Friday. CM Campbell. We will have Navi Robbins on Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Super duper excited about that. We had to reschedule him from last week. And then on June 1st, I have, and I don't want to say this lady's name wrong, so I'm sorry, Nikoyan Zing. And she will be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on June 1st. So I'm looking forward to speaking with them. I will have read their, especially the Koyan's book. I haven't read her book yet, but I will by June 1st. So I'll be looking forward to speaking with her. What else do I have going on? You guys know I have a PR company. I'm still formulating. Things are happening. A lot of things are happening. So more information is going to be coming probably towards July regarding my PR company. Um, what else? What else? You guys know I have an event next year in 2026. Labor Day weekend is the Napa Book Wine Tour in Napa, California. We will be all through the Bay Area. So on Friday is a tour of Oakland, San Francisco, Sausalito, and Half Moon Bay. We will be visiting the oldest black bookstore in the United States, which is Marcus Bookstores, which is here in Oakland. So be ready to do that. Friday night, we will have a tennis shoe ball. Lots of fun, lots of fun. Saturday, we will be at the countryside of Napa. We will visit 5 wineries. And then on Sunday, we will have brunch. Oh, Saturday night is a game night. I'm sorry about that. We have a game night on Saturday night. Lots of food and prizes. Authors, if you're interested in donating books for prizes or merch for prizes, see me in my DMs. Okay? Sunday we'll be downtown Napa as a lot of the tasting rooms, and there's a black brunch spot that we will be going to for brunch, and it will be a time. The events that I will be at this year. So I will be at the Boozy Book Tour in Chicago, October 17th, I believe. In Chicago. So it's a 3-day event. It's their 2-year anniversary. It's going down. Just know what happened in Chicago, stay in Chicago. Whatever I'm doing in Chicago, mind your business. Okay? Make sure that you guys are following all my channels. This interview will be in its entirety on YouTube after I download it, after I edit it a little bit, and put it on YouTube. It will be over there this weekend. Book businesses. If you're looking for a great editor, Marked by Tylee. Old girl has been, not old girl because she's younger than me. Old girl has been doing her thing. She has edited for Jaquel. She has edited for Brianna Michelle. She has edited for Aubrey J and the like. Latoya Nicole, she's edited for her. Or Beta Red or whatever they do together. It's a time. So make sure that if you're looking for a good editor, Marked by Tylee is your girl. If you're looking for other podcasters, Black Girl Tired. She is over on here on TikTok with me. She's one of my clients, and she's doing big things. And make sure you guys tell her congratulations for being the content. She won the best content influencer of the year. That's a big deal. Okay, make sure y'all give Storm her congratulations, and that's for the AANBC Awards. If you're looking for an online bookstore, my girl Shannon with the Literary DFW, make sure that you look her up. She has a lot of Black books. If she doesn't have them on her site and she can get them, she will get them and ship them to you. So you don't always have to go to the Zod. You don't have to always do that. Shannon is, and when she sends you the package, you know it's from the Literary DFW. There's always a beautiful package. If you're looking for teas, if you're looking to do a book box and you want to make your characters into teas, or you want some good loose leaf tea, the Urban Tea Room. She is phenomenal, and the teas are so good. So that is Natalie from the Urban Tea Room. If you're looking for baked goods, Erica from East Sweets, the Rita Baker. When I tell you them cookies are so good, y'all look up Erica. All their links are in my bio. If you're looking to get your book sprayed, this is good for you, Blake. For your 20th edition, and you want your book sprayed or cover design, Jess from the Bibliophile Boutique is your girl. The edges are beautiful. Okay, so
yeah, okay.
Her link is in my bio as well. If you're looking for a book club, okay, I'm talking about all you care about is reading books and discussing. The books we love to discuss book group here on TikTok is the book club for you. The only rules are no drama, and it's only about the books. That's it. No drama. It's only about the books. They read. They have Messy Mondays where they read a novella online and discuss it. It's a good time. I will be back in July. They have Tasty Tuesdays where the book's a little hot and spicy. It's a novella. I'm in that. I'll be in there on Tuesday, starting in July again. And then on Saturdays, they pick a book of the week and they read the book. So they also have other days that they're doing stuff. Just hop into the girls. The link is in my bio. And that's it for me.
Okay.
That's it.
That's a lot. That was good.
Listen, and it's actually more people, but it'd be too long for me. So, I'm too old. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on to
thank you for having me.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you working with me as I get into my new embarkment on TikTok. So I appreciate you being part
you can hit me up anytime. So I'm gonna text you my phone number on the book stuff. I'll tell you what, this is book stuff. And if you have questions or anything, just let me know.
No, appreciate that. Definitely.
All right, honey bunch. You guys have a good night. Thank you again, and happy reading, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.